Good morning, good afternoon, or good night from whenever and wherever you are watching us. I am Cameron Scandal. That is Steven Treffler. And we are the Sound. Thank you so much for joining us today, folks. Happy Super Bowl show. Friday before the big game, Kansas City, Philadelphia, Super Bowl 59. As you can imagine, we got a show packed with Super Bowl content. We are excited to give you that info. Steve, regardless of who you're rooting for in this game, whether you're an Eagles fan or a Chiefs fan, this is certainly going to be a game for the ages.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how this game pans out. Should be a really close game for a good majority of it. I think we're going to see some fireworks on both sides, that Eagles defense, that Chiefs offense. So I'm really excited to see kind of how it pans out.
And I also want to mention, just briefly, this is Steve and I's second attempt at doing this video because we went through the whole intro and I was like, you know what? Didn't hit record. So we got a practice run under our belt, so hopefully this will go better the second time around. So without further ado, let's get going again. As we just mentioned, show full of Super Bowl stuff this Sunday. Eagles, Chiefs. Steve, we said at the top of the show, this is going to be one for the ages, going to be a great game on either side. How do you feel this game is going to pan out and how each team is going to play against one another?
I think the game's going to start with the Chiefs kind of underestimating how good the Eagles really are on offense. I think you're going to find the Chiefs underestimate how good that Eagles defense really is. I think you're going to see the Eagles jump out to an early lead. And it could be something like 7-0, 10-0. I think that the Chiefs are going to kind of struggle to find their footing immediately. And at halftime, you're probably going to see something like a 17-7, 17-10 lead by the Eagles. And let me tell you something, Cam. As much as I want to say the Birds will continue that success into the second half, I think you're going to see Patrick Mahomes have one of those vintage Patrick Mahomes games. You're going to see him have one of those all-time great second halves, and he's going to come out and he's just going to bring the Chiefs back on his back. I think you're going to see him figure out that defense. He's already said that by watching the Eagles defense, he can tell when a linebacker opens his hip or a linebacker takes a step forward, whether it's zone or they play in the run. And if Patrick Mahomes is seeing that on video, you already know Patrick Mahomes is going to see that on the field. And when he does see that and he finally recognizes and gets into that rhythm that he's going to get into, I think you're going to see it be like a 2-3 score game by the end. You're going to see Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs raising the Lombardi trophy at the end, unfortunately. I hope I'm wrong, Cam, but I mean, how do you see it going? Do you see it playing out similarly to what I just said?
First of all, I want to preface this by talking to all my fellow Birds fans by just saying that I am rooting for the Eagles. I want the Eagles to win, and I will be cheering them on from start to finish. I promise. But, Steve, as we know, it is our job to provide our unbiased, cogent, and intelligent analysis. So with that being said, I do think the Eagles are going to lose. And while I do think it is going to be a good game to start, I just don't think Philly has what it takes or has enough in the tank to beat a team like this Chiefs team. So, I mean, I obviously think Saquon is going to start off with a big game like you had said. I would not be shocked either if it started off with a 7 or 10-0 lead, but I think that purely comes from Saquon Barkley. I have mentally been saying to myself, well, this has to be the game where he comes back to normal, right? Or he has to have normal stats. And it just never happens. So I am done doubting the Barkley, and I am just saying, yeah, he's probably going to have an awesome game because he's had awesome games all season. I don't think we don't think Jalen Hurts is going to do anything that we haven't already seen this whole season. I was told that he had the best game so far against the Commanders in the NFC Championship game. And while that may be true, it still did not knock me on the floor. But that we clearly don't need that to be successful or win. So I think Jalen will keep doing what he has done this entire season. And as far as the Kansas City side of things, the Eagles' defensive line has so many individual weapons and so much individual talent that I think Mahomes, like I said with the Commanders, is going to be pressured a lot, and they're going to have a lot of quick throws. It's going to be a lot of quick action the Eagles have to then quickly react to. It's not going to be sustainable for Philly. They as in the Chiefs, if they have not scored in every single quarter this season, they have been double dipping in some of those quarters. And in a game like the Super Bowl, where you have a guy like Patrick Mahomes who is stepping up and capitalizing and elevating in these biggest moments at the biggest stages, where unfortunately right now I'm not seeing anyone like that in Philadelphia. Steve, as you had said, I think that this could very easily be a 2-score game by the end of it.
Now, hearing all of that, I have a surprise question for you
Oh,
that I
okay.
came up with before the show. With this start in the Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts has more Super Bowl starts than Donovan McNabb. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure he has the most Super Bowl starts by any Eagles quarterback ever. If
Probably.
Jalen Hurts wins this Super Bowl, is he the greatest Eagles quarterback of all time?
I want to instinctually say no. I don't have stats or metrics to back it up right now, but I just don't think Jalen Hurts individually has accomplished or achieved enough to claim that title. Now, again, I don't know what like other people have on their resumes for Eagles quarterbacks off the top of my head, but I can imagine they have more than Jalen Hurts besides Super Bowl starts at this point. Because again, no one really is crediting the Super Bowl runs to Jalen Hurts.
That's fair. I was just curious your opinion. I didn't know what you thought about it. I think he's definitely, if he wins, top 3 all time. I mean, just off the top of my head, I can't think of a lot of Eagles quarterbacks who have gone to the Super Bowl. So he will have done it twice now. And right, we've said that this one isn't so much about him, but last one was a little bit more about him. So I mean, we'll see. We'll see. But interesting thing to think about for Birds fans.
Yeah, so many conversation that will need to be had in the next 2 years, maybe, depending on the future. But yeah, for sure. So, Steve, we've obviously said that we both think the Chiefs are going to win this game and complete the three-peat. Do we have any sort of final score predictions?
Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be in the vicinity of maybe 42-28 or like a 35-20 type game. I'm telling you, man, I think the Eagles in the first half are going to have that big lead, but I think they might score 3 points, a touchdown in the second half, something like that.
Yeah, I'm thinking like 31-21 seems extreme. I don't think it goes past 10. I think the Eagles keep it close. So I close. I don't think it goes more than 10 points still, but I don't think I think the Eagles or the Chiefs will break 30.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say 31. I'm gonna say 31-21, I guess. We'll stick it with that.
I guess we'll see.
I guess we will see. February 9th, 6:30. Be there. Moving on to our second topic, it is everyone's favorite ranking system, today's top 5. Today's top 5 is where Steve and I rank basketball or football things in a sports context, however we decide. Today we are doing the top 5 people with the most to gain from winning the Super Bowl. We talked about this in the past, but now we're here. We got the team, we got the people, and most importantly, we got the list. So Steve, you ready to go into today's top 5?
I couldn't be more excited.
Let's get right into it. All right, so here we have a look at today's top 5. Start at the bottom, working our way up. Number 5, Eagles fans. Now, why do we have Eagles fans? Well, look, I'm going to tell you. What can possibly be more Philadelphia than beating the Chiefs for their three-peat, stopping Patrick Mahomes from becoming the inarguable GOAT? You get revenge on a team that beat you from years prior, and for life, Eagles fans get to say to everyone, especially Chiefs fans, we stopped the three-peat. We beat Mahomes in his prime. We beat the team that nobody expected us to beat, and that was unstoppable. Like, there is nothing more Philadelphia than holding these powerful and eternal bragging rights over Kansas City and their fans.
Yeah, Eagles fans are it's the nicest way I can put this. They're a special breed.
Yeah.
They're a special breed. You always hear, oh, going into the Eagle Stadium and you're an opposing fan, opposing team's fan. It can get a little sticky up in there. And I think that especially for Birds fans, they are very prideful. And that pride, having something to stand on and being able to look any Super Bowl, any NFL fan, regardless of the team, oh, well, we've won 5 Super Bowls. Yep, well, we stopped Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs from winning their third, so screw you.
Yeah.
Like, that is the Birds need that. They need it. The Birds need something. I think winning this Super Bowl would be even more significant for Eagles fans. It would be the single most significant moment in Eagles fandom history.
Over the Philly?
Bro, listen, beating Patrick Mahomes on his way to the three-peat with Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley, the context of this.
Yeah.
This would be, in my opinion, the single most important and meaningful win in Eagles fandom history.
All right. I mean, hey, you heard it here first, mate. What? I guess we'll see. Starting off at number 5, Eagles fans. Number 4, Jalen Hurts. Now, look, Jalen, after getting his contract a few years ago, we had mentioned losing to Mahomes in the same game 3 years ago, having the last 2 seasons of being like, kind of weird, not the best. People are having some doubts and questions. Winning the Super Bowl would, I mean, how do you then question or say anything about or to Jalen Hurts when in his mediocre seasons delivering championships? This gets I wouldn't say gets the monkey off his back, but instead of just being right on top of him, it's kind of like dangling off his jersey. But Jalen Hurts can silence a lot of his specific and individual doubters and haters with winning this championship.
I'm going to quote a guy that you and me have talked about on this show before. My down year is another guy's career year, Mr. Aaron Rodgers. Okay. Jalen Hurts can finally come out and say, hey, guys, listen, all of you who say I can't lead, all of you say that contract was a mistake, you're wrong. Here's my Lombardi. Go away. This would be vindication and validation for Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coming in at number 3, Andy Reid. I believe very strongly in what I'm about to say. I will stand on the top of a mountain and yell this to people. If the Chiefs win this Super Bowl, Andy Reid solidifies himself as the greatest head coach in NFL history. Andy Reid is going to his 6th Super Bowl. Andy Reid has now taken 2 separate teams to the Super Bowl. And if they win this Super Bowl, it would be his 4th Super Bowl victory. Now, people are going to say, oh, well, Belichick has 7. Well, a lot of people question Bill Belichick. Was it him? Was it Tom Brady? Nobody's ever questioned, was it Andy Reid or was it Patrick Mahomes? Now, yeah, Patrick Mahomes is obviously the driving force of this team, but when you lose a Tyreek Hill, when you lose a lot of the big players that the Chiefs have lost and you don't miss a beat, when you have the ability, when last year everybody was saying, oh, this is the year they can't do it, Kadarius Toney, all the drop passes, they don't have receivers, and yet they never missed a beat. That speaks to coaching as well. That speaks to great coaching and being able to use the pieces at your disposal to be able to get the job done, not relying on the greatest or now second greatest quarterback ever to win you their games. So Andy Reid, number 3, would be the greatest head coach of all time in NFL history.
And as you have mentioned, people, I think a lot of times, question Bill Belichick. And I think once Brady won in Tampa Bay, it became the answer was Tom Brady, not Bill Belichick. And also, I think Andy Reid has more of a direct effect. Like, I don't know how much Bill Belichick was throwing in X's and O's and making up schemes and rallying guys and like actually masterminding those game plans. I could be completely wrong. I just really don't know. I feel like Andy Reid has a more direct impact and more to do with their actual how and what they are performing on the field.
Here's what I would say. Bill Belichick is one of the greatest defensive minds in NFL history as a coach. But you're right. Offensively, a lot of those games were being won offensively, not defensively. But to your point as well, Tom Brady left and Bill Belichick's now coaching in college. So I mean, who are you going to take?
When Brady left, those couple years where Belichick was still around, oh my God, it was like he couldn't get nothing going with those guys, and an array of quarterbacks as well. So yeah, Andy Reid definitely has a lot on the line as well in the Super Bowl. Number 2, Saquon Barkley. With the Super Bowl win, Saquon Barkley will have had the single greatest season a running back has ever had. Probably should have broken Eric Dickerson's record if he played that last game. If the Eagles win the Super Bowl, we are going to assume it is on the back of Saquon Barkley and not Jalen Hurts and not a receiver. And Saquon Barkley also, with this Super Bowl win, will put himself as a cemented Hall of Famer. And after this season, there have been a lot of questions of where is his legacy and where is he ranking right now amongst other running backs. With the Super Bowl win, this projects him in a whole different landscape than what he had previously been in.
Barkley, in my opinion, in this Super Bowl, he gains the most, like he climbs the most steps as far as legacy of anybody on this list, in my opinion, because he goes into a category where now not only does he have a legacy, because I don't think he had one before this season, but now he has a legacy. We talked about this when he was coming out of college. You had a friend that said that Saquon Barkley was going to be the best running back of our generation.
Yeah, Saquon would be the best running back of our generation. Yep.
Right, and that's the thing. And now we're starting to see that maybe that's true. With this win, does he finally take that next step over Derrick Henry, who has kind of been the reigning king since Adrian Peterson and those guys walked out? Like, almost passing of the torch, but it is the return of the king. I mean, he is right now the most exciting player in football to watch.
Yeah, and I get 2 things. 1, shout out Mikey Breslin, the person who made that prediction. He called that like in Saquon's like rookie year. Like it was not like yesterday. This was years ago he had said that. But also, Saquon would be the 8th running back in history to have won the Super Bowl MVP. First time that would have been done in almost 30 years. So it is something special what we are watching with Saquon Barkley this season. And a Super Bowl win and an MVP would just chef's kiss. And number 1 at the top of our list, Patrick Mahomes. And I think it is fairly obvious. I mean, as we had mentioned for how many times now throughout the last few episodes, he would cement himself as the GOAT, would secure the three-peat. It would be like what he has already done through his career, just adding icing on the cake. There would be not much people would be able to say to me that would get me to listen to a Tom Brady argument after this. And Steve, with this win, Bill Russell, Joe DiMaggio, Wayne Gretzky, Patrick Mahomes, the 4 people in the 4 major sports that have gotten 4 championships the fastest of anyone else ever.
Oh, wow.
That's the group Patrick Mahomes would be entering. So that, as you had mentioned, Saquon is taking, like, he's going from like the 20th floor to the 10th floor, but Mahomes going from the 2nd floor to the 1st floor. So while it is a smaller jump, it is a much higher one in that regard. So I think he is today's top 5.
That is a crazy stat. And shout out hockey. I'm the resident hockey guy here. Go the Great 8. But when you enter a category of the Gretzkys, of the DiMaggios, of the Bill Russells, you're talking about some of the greatest athletes, not just of their respective sports, but athletes, period, of all times, the most dominant athletes.
Yeah.
The guys that you tell stories about, the guys that are thought of as legends. Not only is he on that list, but that, to me, with a win, this is the most dominant start to a career ever by an athlete, period, ipso facto, end of story. We have said multiple times that LeBron James is the greatest American athlete of all time. With this win, I'm not saying by any means has he reached the longevity and echelon of LeBron has, but he opens a door to the conversation.
Yeah.
He opened the
maybe.
door to that list that you and me have made in the past of greatest American athletes ever. He's probably on that top 5. And if he's not on the top 5, he's very close.
There is a group that I've talked about, and I know I shared this with you, that I hold in a very separate regard, and that is undisputed, inarguable GOAT of GOATs. The Tiger Woods, the Michael Phelps, the Serena Williams, the Wayne Gretzky's. We are possibly
The
talking
Joey
about
Chestnuts.
with the Joey Chestnuts. That's absolutely right. Absolutely right. That is now the where Mahomes could be placed. Because like LeBron Jordan, that is always going to be a thing. We could hit a point where Mahomes Brady might not be a thing. While it wouldn't be an argument to me, I think the sports world at large would still validate Tom Brady being the GOAT if you had him there. But again, he is adjacent to that group as well.
I mean, anytime you're on a list with Joey Chestnut, you're automatically.
You're at the pinnacle of your athletic career if you are being mentioned with Joey Chestnut. Absolutely. So, to go back through today's top 5, most to gain from winning Super Bowl 59. Number 5, Philadelphia Eagles fans. Number 4, Jalen Hurts. 3, Andy Reid. 2, Saquon Barkley. And number 1, Patrick Kermit Mahomes. Today's top 5. Our third and final topic of the day. We have mentioned all show that we think the Chiefs are going to win, that they have these all-time great players, Mahomes, all that good stuff. So it is clearly not going to be the easiest of games for the Eagles or the Chiefs in that matter to win. So Steve and I have come up with what we think are some key points to help the Eagles beat the Chiefs because, where else are you going to get your information from? There, you can talk to your coordinators, you can talk to your coaches, but you can really come listen to the sound and we'll give you the best advice to win a football game.
Always.
So some of the keys we have for the Eagles to beat the Chiefs. Steve, if you don't mind, I want to let some of mine throw them at you, see how you feel. First and foremost, I had mentioned this with the Commanders, and I mentioned this earlier in the show. I just think Jalen Hurts has to limit mistakes. So without going too much in that, like I'd already said, we had seen in 2022 that Jalen Hurts can have a really good game, a really big game, and lose. And we've also now seen in this season that Jalen Hurts can play subpar or average, and we win. We're a pretty good team. With having Saquon and having the defense be in a better and more experienced position than in 2022 when they were just babies coming into the league, there is not as much of a need for Jalen Hurts to be Superman and do all those things that he needs to do. Steve, fun fact. When Jalen Hurts throws for 250 yards or more in a game for his career in the postseason, the Eagles are 0-3. When he throws for just 150 yards in a game, this is the first time that they've won in his career, the last game against the Commanders.
Okay.
So when Jalen Hurts has these massive games, like I said, there is not a direct correlation to winning those football games. Along with Jalen Hurts not making a lot of mistakes, the Eagles need to capitalize on Kansas City's few and far between, I don't want to say mistakes, opportunities that they're going to be giving. So any sort of blocks, or like block kicks or block punts, any sort of regular punts, even when if the Chiefs are not scoring a touchdown and just kicking a field goal, the Eagles need to come back and capitalize on that right away. Because like I said, the Chiefs have not given margin for error, not even this season, but throughout their tenure in the Mahomes era. So Philadelphia, who has been prone to not having the same level of energy, the same kind of play throughout the entire game, they're going to need to make sure that they're getting on top of those opportunities. This is not a game, the biggest game of the season with the best team we've ever seen. They're not going to give you chances to do those things in this kind of game. When teams get in the Super Bowl or get in games like this, and they are in the position the Eagles are where they're underdogs, they're playing against a historic opponent or someone that the world feels clearly outmatches them. A lot of teams like to go, all right, guys, listen, shut all that out. Focus on you. Focus on your brothers. We're here now. We're here to win, and it's about us together. I am saying open up those ears. Let all that noise in. Listen to what the world has been saying to you. Listen to the conversation that the sound is having of, man, how are the Eagles going to do this? They got to pull it off somehow. Listen to all that. Listen to the historic three-peat going on and how Mahomes is going to be the GOAT. And be like, this is what everyone is saying. And we, again, how much more Philadelphia can you get than by defying the odds and ruining it for everyone? Moral of the story, this is not going to be an easy game for the Eagles to win, and they essentially have to play the most perfect game to have a chance at coming out on top.
The Eagles have a chance to cement their legacy in Philadelphia, to cement their history, their names with Philadelphia lore, sports lore. And as we've said, that city is super prideful. So you want that city to have your back till the day that you stop breathing, you win this Super Bowl. How do you win the Super Bowl? You got to go after Mahomes. Now, listen, I'm not talking Bountygate here. I'm not talking Sean Payton, 2011 Saints. No. I'm saying when you have the opportunity to lay some wood on him, you hit him. You got to get Patrick Mahomes off his spot. Cam, 7 times this year, Patrick Mahomes was sacked 3 or more times. 6 of those games were one-score games. 4 of those games were under 3 points. You have to get after Mahomes if you want to win this game. You got to knock him off his spot. You got to rattle the rhythm that they've built through these playoffs and over the last 2 seasons. Mahomes is the key, and that is the engine, the chug-a-lug-a-lug that drives the Chiefs offense and that whole team. You and me have said that it doesn't matter so much about what pieces Mahomes has and what coaching changes could happen. He is the guy.
And you said something that I hadn't thought of, that Philadelphia will back up and accept and hold on to this team after this happens. Like that 2018 Eagles team that beat Tom Brady, there are diehard Eagles fans that will tell you the top to bottom who was on that roster, and they'll never forget it for as long as they live. And as you said, Nick Foles pays for nothing in Philadelphia for as long as he lives. We beat Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. This team will be in that same category of because I expect the Eagles to make obviously more Super Bowls throughout their existence, but they are not going to have the same weight as beating the GOAT and then beating the GOAT. Like, those are our first 2.
There's 3 GOATs in this game. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce.
I was like, what? Yeah.
There are 3 GOATs in this game. You have a chance to knock off 3 of the greatest players that have ever played in this sport. You know what that city, they will die for this team.
What do you think happens if the Eagles, now Jason Kelce and Travis Kelce, Travis loses, you think Jason's going to, he's like rubbing it in his face?
New Heights might get canceled.
Maybe.
The showdown.
Maybe. I think Eagles fans might cancel our show after this episode airs. That's going to do it for us today, guys. Super Bowl show in conclusion. It all comes down to Sunday. Who is going to win the big game? We're either going to look like complete fools or absolute legends after this game is over. But I guess that's how it goes pretty much anytime you make a sports prediction.
Yeah.
Like you're either on one side of the coin or the other. Let me talk to the Eagles real quick. Like I said, I'm rooting for you. Go out there and kick the Chiefs' ass. Philadelphia will love you forever, and most importantly, the town will love you forever. So go Birds. And with that being said, guys, we will see you next week. And always remember, if you are ever in need of intelligent and cogent sports analysis, listen to the sound. We will always have you covered. Thank you so much for joining us today, folks. We hope to see you next week. Go Birds. Stay safe. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Listen to the sound. I listen to the sound.